Yo, welcome back to my channel. Big up to everyone in here, as always. It's only Yasser with me for the moment. The other two are running a bit late. My apologies, or well, their apologies really. So let's start with Chelsea then. Now, I've prepared a few topics here already for Chelsea. The first thing I wanted to ask, because you made like a billion signings, who's your best signing in your opinion? Because I think it's probably the Lap.
The lap.
Yeah.
Ooh. I've really wanted the lap. So he is definitely up there. And then
Mm-hmm.
obviously if you look at like the João Pedro signing, I think it's between those two in my opinion so far. Because I feel like both obviously provide different things, but at the same time they still do they still are very important to what we need to do going forward, innit? So I don't know, man. I'd probably go João Pedro a bit more, even though I think the lap is going to be more important when it comes to like the rest of the season and the whole thing. Because so far we've only seen one of them really take it to the next level, which was really Pedro in terms of like performing in the games that he's been given, which is a semi final and a final. But besides that, obviously we haven't seen more of them. And sometimes you can have that period where players really perform well and they just fall off. So for that reason, I would say what, let's just keep it with the guys performing. But I do think Dela probably gives me like an overall season. I think throughout the whole season he'll be important.
For me, João Pedro, yeah. My problem with him is he's not a consistent scorer. He'll have like his moments where he scores his purple patches, and then he'll
Mhm.
go missing for a while. So that's my problem with him.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
think
yeah.
because I think yeah, in like cup competitions is great, but because you saw in the semi-final and the final, he'll turn up in the big moments. But you
Yeah.
need players to also do it against small teams as well, because that's most of the games of the season.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But that's where you can find out the players that have consistency and which players don't. Which obviously we have found out when like someone like a Jackson.
Yeah,
Beginning of the season he was performing well, scoring all the goals, everything, and he looked like, what, maybe we should just keep him. But then later you realize that it was a purple patch and it's not actually him changing at all. He hasn't actually fully improved. It's just that that was a purple patch. So we need someone that's actually performing at a set level consistently. And you can't always really put judgment on all the players until you've actually seen enough of them to say that okay, this is actually their consistent level, and this isn't like, you know, a one off or whatever. Otherwise, you always have most players have peaks and dips. Some players are just always dips, and there's only a few of them that actually have a lot of peaks, right?
yeah,
So yeah, we'll have a look. We'll
yeah.
see.
But like what you say with Jackson as well. When he played for Villarreal, I believe it was, right?
Yeah, yeah, with
he
Emery.
he played as a winger there, and then in the Premier League he comes in, plays as a striker. So I already think that Jackson is like a player who he's a purple patch player, first of all, but also a player who was out of position. Then I look at like Liam Delap. He's just had one season, one really good season. He's still young, and that was in the Premier League, by the way, his good season, not from La Liga, which can be different. The Lab just seems like a much more consistent player going off of one season. But now you're at a different club, right? How is he going to play at Chelsea? Because he's already played 2 games with Chelsea. Didn't score in either, but what about his performance? Did you like what he was doing in those games? Because I don't think he did much, really.
No, he scored. He did score in one of the games.
Or did he? In a
He
friendly,
did. He
maybe.
did. I forgot which team it was, but it's when Enzo gave him the ball over the top, and then he just turned and bottom corner. But I forgot which team it was. It was part of the Club World Cup. I think it was his second game because the first game he had the assist. The second game is when he had that goal, and I think the third game is when he came on, which was I think the final. He came off the bench. I think that was even his little cameo showed you. Now the way I was looking at players for this season when we were looking at which striker would you want, and there's all these strikers on the market. It's easy to say I want a Jokeris. It's easy
Yeah.
to say I want an Osherman. It's easy, and obviously you've seen it with your team bringing in Haaland, how it can kind of not ruin the harmony, but like the way you play, innit? Because usually you guys always used to have this nice flow and nice. Yeah, one sec. Let me close this window.
Yeah, no worries. Um, I don't think that's always bad, but when you get a backsman, it changes the way you play. That just happened. You have to
It
play in a
depends on
different
the
way.
bagsman, though. This is the thing that I was gonna tell you. Depends on what attributes the bagsman has. You know, some of them like an Usherman, he doesn't have the greatest first touch. He doesn't have this, doesn't have that. But in the box, he might give you something. Like as in, that's where he does most of his work. And similar to Haaland, where you know how they finish, like they can finish a ball that's all the way in the air, but they won't head it. They'll do like a kung fu kick or something. You know what I mean? Do something outrageous, but they'll that's how they score their goals. They might also do have like big misses, but because the amount of goals they score, the misses kind of go under the carpet. Like you don't really have to deal with the misses because of how much they score a season. But if the sometimes bringing in one of those players, which we had with like a Lukaku, if it doesn't work out, you're now paying big bucks for a player that, if his head's not in it, a lot of the times it just doesn't work out. And I didn't really want a player that I wanted a player that can play football in it because I was starting to get tired of like players just coming in to do a role. I needed someone that can actually play football
Yeah,
because when things
that,
go away, people still know if systems change or managers change, you still have players that have good fundamentals in it. So
mhm.
with the lap, he was one of those players that I looked at and I was like, okay, cool. He's played in the championship, he's played in the league, and I watched a lot of Ipswich. Yeah, and I know that Ipswich, he's their only outlet at Ipswich. I know that cool they had Hutchinson, but besides that, he had to do all the work and he had to get from a halfway line to whatever, and he had to rely on the service. He used to shoot from all these angles outside the box, trying to get a goal, or you know what I mean. So to get 12 goals, if you compare that to a lot of people in the league, I think Jackson had 14 or something like that, or 12 around that mark, when he had triple the amount of chances created for him in the 5 yard box or whatever they call it. So he had all the chances that that Dalap had, or was created for him. He didn't have it
Yeah,
in general. He had that just in that small penalty area. So imagine what other chances that he had. So if you put someone who's a natural striker in there, it automatically should improve because the player that knack at the lap, that's
and
his position.
the way that they play as well, because I think not a lot of people pay attention to football off the ball, but strikers can create their own chances and their movement in the box. Like if Jackson is getting all those chances with poor movement, imagine
Mhm.
the amount of chances that the Lob can make for himself with better movement as well. I
Yeah,
think the Lob, yeah, I think is a very good signing. I
yeah,
just think he's maybe a bit. I mean, he's young. Listen, a lot of your players are young, which
yeah.
isn't a bad thing per se, but I do think it's difficult to win a league title with those types of players.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean they're bad signings, but if I look at your attack right now, you've got a very good striker there in the lob, and João Pedro, who can play as well.
Yeah,
Uh, you've got a right wing, I believe, in Palmer. I think he's better on the right than in the middle.
yeah, yeah. You could say so.
And then
I think some of the
left
games,
winger,
but yeah.
short, but then left winger, you're a bit blank, aren't you? So who do you put on left wing?
DC, that's the thing, innit? So I know that we're probably still looking for a left winger. Obviously, we have Gittins, and I'm presuming that he could be the starter. Like from what we're seeing and what we're hearing, it could be that he's the starter because you know what it is, yeah. Because even though I could be like, you know what, I want this guy and that guy, but when you think about it, sometimes is what can that player provide in that system to make everything work. Sometimes you don't have the right player in there, but right, maybe then the quality. But from what I've seen from Gittins is that his this final third decision making is quite good. So what he usually does is when he cuts in, you have Doki, so like when a player cuts in, sometimes you want him to shoot, like he
Yeah,
knows what he's gonna do. And with Doki, similar to what we had with Madueke and a few other players, where they change their mind just before they go to shoot, and it's fake shot, fake shot, fake shot, and then the ball just you lose that momentum in that attack, right?
Very
From what
indecisive. That's the problem. But I
you've
think
been decisive.
Gatones also has that problem if I watch him in Bundesliga.
From what I've seen, usually he usually has the shot straight away. Now he can miss that, but I'd rather have that than always taking your time and then losing. I'd rather you either pass the ball or shoot. Just make that decision. You know what I mean? As long as it's the right decision, it is what it is. But like, obviously, I think he will be able to add something to that. I think. Now, are we gonna play Simmons there? That will be a little bit of a problem because I don't necessarily think he's that good on the left. But
Oh yeah,
I
you
know
are getting Simmons, aren't you?
they're willing to
Is that a
Simmons.
done deal, or
Not
what's that deal at?
no, it's not a done deal. So we've got the news today about him negotiations being advanced. We still haven't really agreed personal terms,
Yeah,
but it looks like it's quite close. Hater, we've already agreed personal terms, but we just agreed on the deal. And I think Ajax wants some players from us or whatever it is. So that usually means that Chelsea, we have some player someone wants that we could just put in the deal and sort it out. But yeah, it's for me. I'm looking at obviously the left wing. I understand what you mean with the left wing. Obviously, we'd rather have a different backup there. But it depends who they end up going for. Because I'd rather have no player on the left wing than have Garnacho. Yeah,
yeah,
because you know what it is though. We can play Pedro on the left, and then
sure.
obviously you have maybe a and you. I don't know if they're gonna play him yet, but he has Esteval or who's the other guy's name. Palmer can be on that right. We've seen
Yeah,
different variations of the way we play sometimes. So I think that is possible. Of we have some players that we can put there, or you can put Jao Pedro on the left because he was essentially he was one of those people that can play across the front line if we needed to. So those are different options, and the reason we are looking also for Xavi Simmons is because we are trying to play trying to play two tens, which we've done last season against Leicester with Felix and Palmer. It was working, and I think because our manager always changes formations depending on the team or maybe mid game, you want to have those kind of options on the bench as well. Because if you want to end up playing two tens, you don't want to shoehorn someone there that can't do the job, because then the system don't work, right?
yeah.
So yeah, so I'm cool with it. Like I think those two signings specifically added to the team will help, but we have a
Hmm.
problem with this goalkeeper,
So
in my opinion, bro.
that if you are to sign a specific left winger, then like Xavi Simmons is not really a left winger. He can play on the left
Yeah,
wing, but he's not really a left winger.
yeah,
Pedro, not really a left winger, but he can play there, right?
you could do a job.
Man City has the same right now. We've got Marmoush, he's not a left winger, but he can play on the left wing and do a good job there.
Mhm.
Do you think you need a specific left winger then, or do you think as long as you've got players who can play there, even if it's not their natural role, you're fine?
The problem is that if you had a look at the left winger market this summer, is probably the worst I've ever seen in my life. And this is why at the time I wanted to just keep Sancho, because I thought if you look at the wingers that are available on the market, I don't really rate Leao. I don't really rate. Thing is only really Rodrigo, and you can see how many people out there that rate Rodrigo in the market. I mean, as in people that like everyone kind of wants him. If he's available, everyone really would go for him, right? And then after that, the drop off so high, then it goes from all the way Rodrigo to the floor to 6 feet under to Garnacho. You know what I mean? But this is the thing, like I think we have some players that we can use in the left wing rather than being linked to him. But then it's either about being in the in for obviously for Garnacho, you have to be fighting Liverpool, potentially City if they do end up going for him last minute. Because some of us are like that, as in our teams sometimes do these unpredictable things where you just go in for a player without really knowing because it's a big opportunity. And our owners do this thing where they like to go for any opportunities in the markets that you see at the time. So it's not just about getting the ones that they were thinking about getting. If we can get any other player that's good in this market, we'll buy him as well. So I think for us though, our biggest thing, I can't think of anyone else really on the left wing unless you start naming names. Maybe like a Malik Fofana or something, but I read he's linked to Everton today. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, but I mean, you can start naming a bunch of players, but the quality has to be right too.
Yeah.
There has to be quality there.
Hmm.
For example, let's go to your midfield, for example, yeah, because in your midfield right now, you've got Enzo and Caicedo. They're gonna
Hmm.
play.
Hmm.
Lavia, if he's not injured,
Hmm.
probably. Javi Simmons, if you sign him, but
Hmm.
then he can't play left wing. Do you play João Pedro in midfield? I don't know if you can do that even. Um,
Probably in the 10, innit?
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
He'd be more of like a shadow striker. I'm not really sure if he could play as an out
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
out 10.
Hmm.
And also Reece James, who I believe he played a game in midfield state in the Club World Cup,
Yeah, in the
and
final. Yeah,
yeah,
in
in
the
the final,
final.
which what makes a lot of sense to me. Zolis says someone in chat. Yeah, Zolis hype is real. He's a left winger from Bruges.
Yeah.
Uh, so if you put Reece James in midfield, because obviously he's had all his injuries, he
Hmm.
doesn't need to run as much. Right back, in my opinion, is a position where you need to run a bunch, right? Uh,
This is where you kind of got it wrong, though. Let me
yeah,
explain. It's Enzo, Caicedo, Lavia, Santos, and Asugo.
yeah,
So Santos and Asugo are the backups in terms of, behind the starters. And I think in terms of the quality that they bring, they're good enough quality to be backup. So it's not like we've seen some of them in the Club World Cup, whatever. The drop off is a massive in terms of doing a job, right? So if you bring him on, cool, but maybe playing for 4 months or whatever, obviously you don't really want to. Santos, we still want to see what he can provide. Obviously, if you watch like Liga and you know how good he is over there, well, is that going to translate over in the Premier League? That's obviously a different story, isn't it?
yeah,
But yeah, because the thing is, we can see a player is really good, but sometimes we just can't predict the future. So I'd rather say that hopefully he can do well instead of saying he's gonna cook and he never cooks. You never just jinx it. But like obviously, Reece James usually gets in there, and then we play Gusto at right back. And then if we have one of our academy kids called Achampong that I believe can actually do a job at right back. Do you know what I mean? From what I've seen, the games he's played, besides that, one of the games he played for Maresca so far, he made a mistake that led to a goal. Besides that, he hasn't really put a foot wrong. He can play right centre back, he can play right back. So that kind of gives me, he's even played that inverted role that Gusto plays sometimes, or even Reece James plays sometimes. So I do think that there is some players that people think that we might ship away or they don't know what's going on, but over the last year and like going into this Club World Cup, we've seen the ones that are like third option or second option. Because right back would be what Reece James, Gusto, and then Achampong.
yeah. But with all the injuries that Reece James has had, do you want to put him in such a high demand position like right back? If you are in midfield, you can take it a bit slower if the
Yeah,
two players next to you are running more.
Maresca did this at Leicester with Ricardo Pereira, where he put him in midfield. Yeah, or got him to invert into midfield because there's less running compared to running up the wing and down the wing,
Yeah,
which he's kind of stopped him doing that as much. Reece James been fitter than he's ever been in the last couple of years. We've never seen him play these amount of matches this season. I know he's been out a couple of times, but once he's come back, I think probably around what is it, January or before that, he's been fit ever since. But the good thing about Maresca is that he's been managing people's minutes. With Fofana, the centre back, he decided to rush himself back at some point this season, which kind of hindered his it's whatever it was. So he had to go back and get surgery. Reece James over the years put surgery off for a while for his hamstrings because it is quite a dangerous, not really dangerous, but it's very risky kind of surgery. If it doesn't work out, you always have injuries, right? So the thing about Reece James is just that he's put on so much weight, as in muscle. Like, and you've
mhm.
seen it recently with Havertz with those pictures, right? Those
Yeah,
players that come back from injury, like especially this hamstring thing, they work out a lot to kind of get their balance back, strength back. The problem is when your right hamstring will kind of for a very long time not be as strong as the other one you haven't injured. So you will always be kind of compensating. But when you become heavier or with muscle, especially, because adding muscle means adding weight, as in the number on the scale is still going to be different. But
Yeah,
what then ends up happening is that the extra weight still affects your hamstring because now it's more weight you push, like trying to, you're landing on, you have more weight on you compared to the weight you were before. That's some of the things that they don't really think about. Or when you compensate, you can injure your other leg. So that's usually the way it happens after someone comes back from those kind of injuries. But yeah, man, I think, what it is for me. I've always said with Maresca that if he's gonna play this right back thing, like inverted, I can't really see Gusto doing it because even if you watch the Club World Cup final, you've seen that his job was to just run down the wing and come back, and he done that on the pitch. So for me, he's basically like an old school right back. You know what I mean? Just the one that goes up and down the wing, and that's it. Anything more you make him do, it becomes a bit of a problem, in my opinion, innit? Because it's just too much to process. Going into midfield's not really for everyone. So,
yeah,
and
and
actually, you know that because you had like Stones,
yeah,
Walker,
yeah, yeah,
those
absolutely.
seasons inverting. Yeah,
Um, and now you know all this, so I do think Gusto. I don't think can do it, but Reece James I think can. And Maresca doesn't play the same system every game, so
hmm,
it's okay to have two different players to do two different things in the same position. It's
yeah,
okay to have Reece James who's going to invert in
hmm,
some games and Gusto who's not going to do that because
yeah,
Maresca already doesn't play the same system anyhow every game.
hmm,
So I think that's fine. With Man City, it's more problematic. We play one system all season. We get a system that works, hopefully, and that's what we play all season. So that's why it's different. If we have a right back who can't invert, then the next right back doesn't needs to be able to invert. But if we have a right back who does invert, then we need a right back on the bench as well who can do that. So
hmm,
that's I think where it's different for Man City and Chelsea. For Chelsea, I don't think that's a problem. Um, now whether it's better to stay with the same system or not, I suppose that's debated a lot of managers. But I think for Chelsea, the reason why Reece James has been more fit, as you said earlier, is because I think he's been inverting more and running less. He's still running, but he's
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah, yeah.
doing
He got
all the
injured a lot of times running
yeah
up the wing and coming down. So we knew that obviously is putting a lot more load on his body doing that. And maybe until he's really back and his body's used to that kind of workload and stuff like that, you can probably try and see if he can do that. But till then, I don't think it's a something I want to see Reece James do. To be fair, and a lot of people were complaining and saying, you know what, just put him back at right back, and we don't want Reece James in midfield because I think it was a couple of games where it didn't really work out. But he played midfield in, I think it was Hull. I think beginning of his career, we sent him on loan before, and he played in
yeah
midfield. I forgot what team it is for, but he played in midfield there. So it's not like he is kind of midfielder that's played in different positions in the academy and whatever, and then he's stuck at playing at right back. But someone that has those abilities sometimes and is so good on the ball, you can actually put in different positions, which is quite useful, isn't it? But just play him in the position he's good
that's
at.
that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you look at Bernardo Silva,
Hmm,
he played right winger, he played defensive midfielder, he played as an 8, he played as a 10, he played as a false 9, he played as a left winger, and he even played as a right back sometimes.
hmm. Yes,
So
yes, yes.
being versatile isn't a bad thing either. Um, but I think some players need more consistency. And I think Reece James is one of those players who needs consistency. He may have the skill set to do it, but I
Mhm.
don't think he has the body to do it. I think that's the problem with Reece James.
That for me is still open for debate because my issue is that with the two previous managers we had, except for Maresca, this is the first time we've seen him back to his fitness and playing really well again and whatever. Like before that, it's always, you know what, you've come back from injury, do the bleep test and then go play run on the wing, you're injured again. You're just constantly in a cycle where we
Yeah.
had Pochettino who like it was a bit like Klopp in terms of the way they played, was just press, 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 and then he did the bleep test after the game. These things where, so it's just one of those things in my opinion where Reece James is still a open book in terms of what he will provide us next season in terms of his fitness. If he's fit, we know exactly what we can get from Reece James.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
And
I can
obviously
agree.
based on
I
his
can
fitness.
agree with that.
So based on his fitness, obviously the star next to his name is the fitness. If the
True.
fitness is sorted, I don't have to think about Reece James and what he's gonna do, how much he's gonna perform for me. At this point, I've seen enough of Reece James to know what he's like. The only thing for me is can he stay fit? And so far, it's looking good, but I don't know how that obviously the season's going to be like when that comes back. But I do trust Gusto as a normal right back. He's one of those guys that I've called. What did I call him? I just said that he's one of those. If a kid only knows the 10 times table, very basic, and then
Yeah.
you try to make him do algebra. That's what Gusto is. He does that's too much for him. You put him in midfield, all those numbers are flying above his head. He's too like he doesn't know when to come back into right back from midfield at the right time, and then he leaves the space open for the opposition's left winger. So it's
He's
almost
I think he's a classical right back. I just think like there's a lot of footballers right now. I think it's not just Gusto,
yeah,
where football has become so complicated. So, like you have to invert at this time, and you have to do this at that time. This is
yeah.
when you have to be in the half space. This is when you have to be there. It's so
Hmm.
complicated nowadays. Like
But this
seriously,
is
yeah,
why
go
this is why
watch
it
a
takes a year for
documentary.
teams to get used to it.
Yeah,
This
but
is why you get
seriously,
that all the time. Yeah, yeah. You get there is this thing where you've seen it with Enrique. Obviously with Pep, you've seen his whole process with Pep, and even when he changes his system, it takes sometimes a month or whatever it is. Remember, everyone knows that City always starts slow. That's what they say, right?
seriously,
And because of when he changes things, people still have to get used to okay, where's this guy gonna be? Because now it's more of a system game than what Ancelotti does, where he just throws the players on and he says play football, just be here or be here, and that's it, right? Now it's all about a system, and then if you're that good of a club or a team where you've got the players with quality, a bit like PSG or wherever you have in your club, where you have that the system and then you have the players qualities above that. So if the system doesn't work out, maybe like a KDB or Haaland or someone does something and wins you the game, or Mahrez when you had them at the time, or
yeah.
Gundogan at some point. Do you remember that season, treble season? I think it was when he kept scoring goals.
I mean,
Was it treble?
he did that like in the treble season. He did that. He did that for like the last 3 seasons he was here before it came down.
Yeah, but there was a period I think which I think was the treble season where he was just scoring every single game. He was scoring a goal or something at the end of the night when you needed the wins and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
for
he did
me,
that 2 seasons in a row. He did that in 21-22, and he did that
yeah,
in the treble, both in like that, like April May time
yeah,
period.
yeah. So I think there's certain teams like maybe an Arsenal or something where they just bring the players in, and maybe the reason the players are performing to that level is because of the system, right? It's not just because the
Yeah,
players are that good, but it's system based. It's a bit more that their issues are a bit more attacking, but a lo- this is where you need players that can do something besides that. And for a system, obviously you've seen it with Angelotti, where maybe 11 men. The playing your just game doesn't work against 11 men when they're all drilled properly and they know what they're doing and all that. So there is times where you can do both, but I like the fact that my manager so far, from what I've seen, he's allowed sometimes the players to do their thing, but then also having a system. And obviously, it takes a bit of while to. There's a bit more freedom in the way we play, right? You see Palmer
yeah,
drifting out wide. Sometimes he goes on the left, drifts out left, and obviously certain players get their thing. And even Palmer said that he does have freedom, but sometimes they want to play a certain way. That's fine, but there has to be a mix of both. But you really need to have a team where the players are pure footballers. Like if you look at PSG's midfield, Vitinha is a really good footballer. João Gomez is a good footballer. The, if you go around, even their front three, they're good footballers. Maybe they don't have
yeah.
certain qualities. Maybe they're not good finishers or whatever, whatever. But they have really good foot. Thing is, so when they even interchange, you're not seeing them belly moaning because you don't want to be on the left, not the right. These are things that if you have good footballers, like you said earlier with Bernardo Silva, you can put them anywhere. So
Hmm.
those are just pieces of qualities that you need to have in your team. But my biggest thing with Chelsea is the goalkeeper, innit? If we don't get change this goalkeeper,
Your
yeah,
entire defense, to be honest, your two centre backs. I'm sorry, I don't rate either of them. And your goalkeeper, he has one good game and five bad games.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, look, if I'm gonna be fair and not be one of those people that always hating, the
Yeah.
goalkeeper, in my opinion, the goalkeeper, he's had a good run. I think from like a certain period, I think it was like May or something or March. He's been playing really well all the way to the end, barely any mistakes. I think maybe after the Arsenal game, whatever it was. In the Club World Cup, he was all right. I think he made one mistake against Flamengo or someone, or even Benfica. And besides that, there isn't really anything he's done wrong. He hasn't really put a foot wrong. Now, I done enough watch alongs last season. Yeah, and Godfrey is there. Yeah, he knows that we all pray before each game to say, please, man, Sanchez, don't ruin the game, innit? Because the mistakes he makes are like stupid mistakes. And so I can't rely on him going towards potentially a title race or top three, whatever top four race, to make those mistakes, innit? I can't do that. So for me, I feel like that's it. Like in my opinion, I just feel like I can't have him around. No. He can be for me, he can be a backup goalkeeper. I think that's fine, but I can't have him as my starter. My when it comes to my centre backs though, I kind of disagree with what you're saying. I don't think they like world class or anything like that, innit? But I do know that statistically we, for example, have the third best defense in the league. That's with that goalkeeper yeah, in goal and whatever, right? So Colwell had a really good period where he played well with Fofana as his, partnership mate, whatever you want to call it. And I think at your club is it Diaz and what's it called? Diaz and Gvardio,
Guardiola.
right? A lot of people were saying, yes, we want Diaz and Gvardio. We don't want this guy and that guy because sometimes those two just don't work out. Maybe an Akanji and Gvardio don't work, or you know what I mean? Like sometimes there's just a pairing that seems to work. Those two worked for us, but then once Fofana got injured, we obviously brought back Chalobah. Tosin's a bit slower, but sometimes defends well. It depends what team you face. You can play some of them, right? For me, Chalobah and Kobo was for in the like, especially in that difficult running we had at the end of the season. Because remember we had to fight for that top four. You were in that race too, so you knew our run was difficult. Like we had almost every team in there, like Arsenal, Liverpool,
Bro, I told you, I was doing streams every day. I was saying, yeah, Chelsea is going to drop points there, or Chelsea is going to drop points there.
Yeah.
Bro, Chelsea had me sweating for that points. Also, like,
We drew. I think we drew
oh,
against Newcastle because Jackson had done something. He got a red card.
yeah,
Besides that, we beat every team, and we were obviously you can say lucky enough to obviously have Liverpool already winning the league and not trying to, win. Had to win this game to win the league or whatever, because then obviously would have been more difficult. But we still performed well against them. So obviously, you know, for me, it was important that I feel like now it's we used to have worries because this year with your team. You used to have this thing where you comfortable on the ball in the back, right?
yeah,
Now playing at the back, when you start to do it in the beginning, it's very shaky, especially if your goalkeeper's not good at it, right? And you see, even though United Onana's supposed to be good at it, but because he makes so many mistakes, now they don't trust him either. Now, if your
mhm,
centre backs don't trust your goalkeeper, not just about playing at the back, but also when it comes to shot stopping, which he Sanchez is a good stopper, but he's very inconsistent, isn't it? Like he'll make the dumb mistake here and there, but putting that aside, for me, I feel like instead of the defenders being calm, they're always worried about what the goalkeeper's gonna do, and sometimes they compensate. They try to compensate for having that bad goalkeeper by going in for a challenge they probably would have left for the goalkeeper, or you get it, like, or you have to sometimes you say, you know what, I'll make this channel challenge now because if it goes to him, that's probably a certain goal. You get it? Like they feel like they have to do
yeah,
everything, and that pressure, some that at the beginning, especially not understanding the system and knowing what position to be in and all these kind of stuff was difficult. But once they got the hang of it, we've become more comfortable playing at the back. and those weren't as much mistakes. Besides, if Sanchez personally makes that mistake, but I think our defense is all right. But we needed to just add that quality. So maybe if like a Fofana comes in, and we have a Hato, if we need to put him at left back or left, whatever, we have that. We have a bit of difference of players. I still think maybe we should bring in a Gehi. I feel like he's good enough to
Yeah,
be someone that's playing. And I think it's for him going into um a World Cup here. I think it's I don't it's not even a hating on Liverpool because I don't mind of making all these signings, even though it's gonna be in our way, whatever, of challenging the league or winning the league. But
yeah.
you want to see teams. We've seen you guys do it. We've done it before, where if you win a league title, just invest and just try to keep winning. Like this is what I admire about what City done in recent times, and also finally Liverpool's doing it. If I'm putting rivalries aside, yeah, because
Hmm.
this is what you want to see. Because that was always my critical point about Klopp. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, cool. You've got the thing. You can't keep saying I can't win against City when they're improving. And I think when Fernandinho got, like last legs, you already had Rodri ready coming in, and they waited till Fabinho's
The,
light shut off to play.
the reason why Man City didn't win the league title last season is because we didn't buy. Like it's
Yeah,
that
yeah.
simple, isn't it? Like you need to buy to get
Pep,
better.
Pep decided he didn't want to strengthen or do the rebuild in that summer. He probably thought he can get one more season out of them and maybe see then if he could strengthen. And it then obviously Rodri's injury you can't really account for, but you can see how important those rebuilds are. But the reason why I didn't mind City not winning it this last season and whatever is because of how much you've won in recent times. Not a lot of teams do the quadruple in England and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I knew that at some point when you dominate, your time period comes where it's not your turn anymore. It can't, you know what I mean? It's someone else's turn. It's just one of those things, right? Where you're dominating, then this person's dominating, whatever. As long as you pick up from there and rebuild, and you guys have in some ways done it in two windows, you can say, where the January window you got Marmoush and all those players, and now you got a few more players. In my opinion, some of the best in quality in terms of Reinders, Marmoush. I can keep going. I know some of those players anyway, because obviously I'm what's it called, I'm Dutch, so I know about Reinders as a footballer. So I know some of those players. So Liverpool finally started doing this now. But this is what we have to reach. Sometimes once you reach that level, you still have to keep improving and spending. So yeah, I still think we need to. I don't think that Gay should be going to Liverpool, in my opinion, because he's getting close to. I think he's 26 or 27, where if he can find a place where he can start. When you look at someone like Fofana, who might be not very consistent whether he's going to be back or not, he can potentially take that spot, or even play majority of the games if when Fofana's injured, and then he can play whatever, right? And if he can get a starting spot, it can guarantee him the spot in the England team. I think going to Liverpool, he's going to be sitting on the bench for Konate and Van Dijk, unless one of them, Konate, gets injured, probably.
yeah. But I mean, I'm gonna go back a bit to something you said a bit earlier. You said that you've got okay centre backs or good centre backs, but no world class centre backs. And I agree with that. They're good centre backs that you have. Colwell, I think, gets way too much hate, but what you need is a world class centre back. If you're going to compete for the Premier League, you do need a world class centre back. I
Mhm.
don't know if Guehi is world class, to be honest. So I don't know if I mean, maybe Guehi is the best you can get at the moment, but I still don't know if that's enough.
I don't think that. No, no, no. He's not world class, but I think he has the quality. So this is the thing I've realized about centre backs and defenders. It's more of a structure. All right.
Yeah,
Sometimes one complements the other, and then if you have the right structure around them, you're cool. I think we do have one of the best left backs in the world in Cucurella in terms of how he's been performing. And I'm not doing it to gas someone up for no reason. Some people like to say I have the best right back,
yeah,
the best left back, but I do think that obviously Reece James, I'm talking in terms of if he's fit. That he's one of the best right backs, and then left backs I know that have Cucurella. So I just need to make sure I have those two good centre backs, or you can even have. But sometimes the structure is what keeps those centre backs performing at a certain level, because you had, some centre backs that we can even call world class. Wardy was supposed to be close to world class. What's the other guy's name? Diaz is one of them.
Yeah.
If the structure's off or something's off, sometimes you're just standing in the wind on your own. If one player goes too early and the other one doesn't, one guy can't defend two people. You know what I mean?
It's about partnerships, isn't it? It's about
It's
the center
partnerships, but
backs need
also
a
structure, as
partnership.
in yeah, knowing where to be, where's this guy gonna be. When you do this whole offside line thing, offside trap thing, or all these kind of things, you are almost in sync. If you look at Arsenal, they have Saliba, who's a bit more calm, and Gabriel, that was a bit of the hothead, or you could say the one that was a bit erratic, but they found the balance. They end up complementing each other, and I think I'm not necessarily saying that individually they're great, but I feel like Colwell can still step up his levels from if he keeps improving.
Yeah.
And I feel recently he's finally his mentality's changed in terms of he's been a bit more he's challenging. I don't know if you watched him enough, you know that he's always angry, innit? If he plays, he's always angry, tackling, fighting. I've always felt like I wanted him to challenge channel that to his football. If you're angry, just try to play better. Don't try to fight people. And he's been doing that recently a lot more, where he's not reactive to other people's stuff. He's just focused on what he's doing defensively. And it's been like in recent times, like, and I think the last couple of months, it's been amazing. Even with scoring the winner against, I don't know, Forest and all that, which was good for us. But I think that other centre back is a bit like Tosin's not really that great. He looks like he's bringing vibes more to our to the ground. His best friend with Palmer.
I I think so. This is where I think football fans can get greedy because you know how people used to say that Man City has two world class players in every position.
Yeah, yeah,
But that was never true. Man City had one world class starting 11 and good backup options who
hmm
weren't great, but just okay. But there is like this saying that a team is only as strong as the weakest link, but that's not true. If you've got a very strong team, you can take out one great player, replace them with an okay player, and it will have a minimal effect because all the rest around them are still that great.
hmm
So I don't think all your center backs needs to be great. What I do think is you need a system, you need a partnership.
yeah,
Center backs should know who their partner is and should play together with that partner as much as possible. For
hmm
example, Guardiola Ruben Diaz, when the first game they played together was terrible, but at the
hmm
end of the season they played really great together.
yeah,
So partnership is important in every place of football, I think,
hmm
but especially center backs because it's just such a it's you need to be timed when defending, and it's so much more team
yeah.
oriented
And we've always
when you're
changed. So
defending.
our right centre backs always changing. It's either
Yeah,
Chalobah, it's either Tosin or Fofana when he was there. The reason why he was good with Fofana is because he got the running games together. So when it was all
absolutely.
working out, then he got injured, even
But
the Liverpool
also,
game.
if
So
you play with a high line as well, though,
mhm,
um, like let's say Dawson is playing and you're playing with a high line.
mhm,
Okay, you don't need a fast center back. We have Ruben Diaz. He's
mhm.
not fast. He's very slow.
Yeah.
But when we're playing a high line, we get called out because of Ruben Diaz being slow.
hmm
But in the treble season, for example, that
Yeah,
didn't
Kyle
happen
Walker.
because Carl Walker was there. So I don't think Dawson's space is that big of a deal if you can get someone there to cover for that space. I think that's the main thing with him. So
Yeah.
you can have one player there who's of lesser quality and still be fine.
But that's the thing, like for let's say Gay he isn't that tall, but he's a bit quicker and he's shorter. But you get it, you're giving away one thing to get something else.
Yeah,
The good thing, the reason why I'm mentioning someone like him is because his leadership. I think his leadership brings a bit more considering how young the squad is, and even though our mentality has improved in recent time, I still think that we still need to bring in more. We still need to bring in more sometimes. So yeah, yeah, that's the thing about the squad. I think it's been very like I'm very happy to see the improvements we made from last season to now.
Hmm.
The previous seasons it just felt like stumbling blocks and going
I,
backwards.
by the way, I do see that you have to go soon,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you told me beforehand that you have to go soon. So
yeah,
to round up on, let me ask our final question here.
yeah,
You've improved a lot. You've made a lot of signings, sure,
yeah.
but do you think you're gonna win the league title? Are you gonna have Jess and say you think you're gonna win the league title?
I don't think we'll win the league, bro.
Where do you think you'll finish?
I
Top
think,
four?
I
Mad
think, I think we'll finish third behind
third.
City. I think I will finish third behind City. If I'm looking at this is how I'm looking at it. I think Liverpool, and listen, before this whole spending money thing, I was always saying City's gonna win the league, and I was always right. You guys making us proud, yeah. When we knew we weren't gonna win the league, we used to say City, and City used to win the league. But
I mean, we won it like 6 times in
yeah,
January, so
exactly.
that's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
easy
yeah.
guess.
And my issue's been that obviously with knowing how Liverpool played last season and strengthened, I think there's still a little question mark on how what Pep's gonna do, and is it or has it will it click on whatever? Because we know that once City's teams click, it can be a big problem. Considering you got someone like a Haaland up front, there's a lot of aspects in your team, right? Liverpool, I feel like if they add Isak, it's a different level of problem we have to deal with with Liverpool. So I put them first. You guys obviously got Pep, which I still have to respect, and I think that if he can bring something out of the bag, it would be him. So I would say second, because I'm also putting in consideration that we've been not very inconsistent. We just had an inconsistent patch last season that brought us down from potentially challenging to not, right? And I think from
Yeah,
December
but
on.
I think that's a bit mentality issue though there by Maresca.
Yes, 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 yes.
To be
So,
fair though, to be fair, because people say this a lot.
yeah,
They say he needs players to win trophies to build mentality. Well, Maresca just won 2 trophies, so does that build mentality for the managers too? I think it's fair to say it does.
but yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it does. I think it does. Now he feels like it's clicking and everything that he's working towards is working. And if the belief is instilled, it actually looks like he can see some stuff coming from it. Then he knows that he's going the right way. Because the
Yeah,
last thing you want is a manager doubting some of the things he's done and trying to change it up, and then it becomes, it just it becomes a mix of useless stuff going on. There's no direction and stuff. He stuck to the things that he wanted to do, and it looks like it might be working. So that looks fine. And I think, yeah, like I said, I think you guys will be second and we'll be third. I think the team that's going to
you,
be fourth is Arsenal.
you think Arsenal are gonna finish lower after signing Gyökeres?
Oh yeah, I don't know. You see, my thing is before I leave, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't. You see, I rate Gyökeres as a striker in terms of his goal scoring aspect. But like we were talking about earlier in the beginning of the show, besides goal scoring, literally hitting the ball and scoring, there's nothing else that he can provide them in the way they play. Remember, I'm not saying he will not. I just can't see it from what I've seen from him before. Obviously, he's good. He runs. He's a bit more like Watkins and those strikers where they're like running in behind. Now, a
yeah,
lot of the teams Arsenal play sit back. So how is he gonna do that? Like playing in that, you get it playing in that. Obviously, they always cross the ball. Yeah, they always cross the ball. Will he be able to get headers when he barely scores headers? You know,
yeah.
of course he can, and I'm not saying he can't, but those are all question marks. City have Odegaard's not really playing well, but like this season, is he gonna be better this season? Because remember striker needs.
He's not up 10 in my opinion, Ødegaard.
Hmm?
Yeah, I don't think he's up 10. I think he's not that creatively. He's not that good. He's got the pass, but not the vision.
Yeah, but he's been so rubbish last season, so that you don't know if is that gonna continue or has he turned the
Probably.
corner? Exactly. That's you got that one. You have their midfield ain't really when you look at our midfield, your midfield, Liverpool's midfield, I think they behind us in terms of losing Thomas Partey. I don't think they're that close. Their defense is all right. Obviously, the goalkeeper's all right, and obviously Saka's come back from that major injury that's in his hamstring, grade 3 hamstring tear. We don't really know how he's gonna come back from it, whether he's gonna have recurring injuries and all that. Hopefully he doesn't, but you get the point I'm making, right? There's a lot of question marks, and the main question mark for me is Arteta, because my thing is every season he's changed, not just the way he plays. he changed the whole philosophy almost. At least Pep plays the same way every season, but centre backs invert
Yeah,
and this and that. But Arteta's done ultra attacking. The second season's all like balanced, and it's like FIFA. You can change it,
he know
and
what
he's done ultra defensive last season,
he
where he's
doesn't know
mixing
what he wants.
corners
That's
and
the
throwing.
problem.
So, what is he gonna do this season? And for me, that what is he gonna do this season for me is not good enough for me to say I can see him go higher because he's signed Madueke and Nogard, whereas our teams usually buy players that will put the players we have on the pitch on the bench. Like
Yeah,
if Gundogan stays, Gundogan will be on the bench. Your quality is Gundogan, for example. You're not buying a random guy, which you could have done before in Calvin Phillips and that, but you're not buying them to sit on the bench often. That's how they see upgrading or adding depth, but you should be getting a Cherky and then whoever your 10 is that you think wasn't good enough last season, he should be on the bench coming on. So that's my reasons why I think Arsenal ain't gonna make it. And I think the biggest problem at that club is Arteta. I don't see him getting it over the line. And he's one of the few managers that went straight into a big job. Because Maresca's done Leicester and kind of managed to see what his team can do and whatever, what
yeah,
philosophy he wants to play. Company's done the same at Burnley and other clubs before that when he went to Belgium and stuff like that. So they've all done a bit of thinking and practicing before they've end up being managers at big clubs. But he hasn't, so I don't know, man. I can't see him winning it, bro. I can't.
yeah.
And I
Neither
said
can
they're not
I.
winning till
But
phase 10. I said
you
they ain't
do.
winning till phase 10. So yeah,
I don't think they're gonna win anything with that manager. To be honest, I know they won that cup, but other than that, I don't think they'll win anything. Anyhow, you
yeah,
do have to go, so
yeah.
we'll leave it there. My apologies for holding you a bit long here.
No, you're okay. You're okay.
Like and subscribe, everyone. Go check out Yasser's channel as well. It's getting quite close to 500 here. In fact, let me
Yeah,
put this link in chat again.
yeah. It
Go
should be
subscribe
pinned in
to him.
the should be pinned in the
Yeah,
someone.
it's in the
Yeah,
pinned comment, and
yeah,
there you go. You're up to 434. Get this man to I don't know 450. 450.
yeah.
440 is maybe a bit more reasonable. Get him up
Mm.
there, and thank you guys for being in here. Thank you to Yasser for coming on,
Oh, come
and
on,
to
bro.
other people who told me they were going to come, but they've gone missing. It's almost like they both lost pre-season friendlies. Anyhow, we'll leave it at that. I'll see
Yeah.
you guys in the next one.
Peace.
Bye.